honestly, ladies, respectfully, what the actual fuck? Hello again, Creepy Cassettes, and welcome back. If you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're not new here, still like. I hope you all are having a fantastic day. I'm bringing you another weird news story, this time out of the state of Colorado. I'm in mild shock at the depravity of this particular situation, so I figured, why not bring this macabre display of greed and inhumanity to you? Before we get started, I have a question for you all. Let me know how you feel in the comments below, but how would you respond as a grief-stricken family member finding out that you've been intentionally provided the wrong ashes and that your beloved one had been dismembered without permission? This is the question that many families were left pondering after their trust was betrayed by the directors of the Sunset Mesa Funeral Home and Donor Services in Montrose, Colorado. Between 2010 and 2018, 46-year-old Megan Hess and her 69-year-old mother Shirley Koch ran the funeral home and body broker through the same facility and fraudulently dismembered and sold body parts of customer loved ones. For the record, at the time of the initial investigation, which started with Reuters in 2018, they were the only facility in the States running a body brokerage firm out of a funeral home. The woman would take cadaver orders via Hotmail, that is a long time ago, and the cremation marketing website they created, which at one point had an add to cart button, like they were dealing with cheap blouses and not deceased individuals. The buyer could then put in credit card information and have their request processed. Hess even went as far as to lie about having a PhD in mortuary science, which no such degree exists in the US, and as you can imagine, this was a serious conflict of interest, and that conflict became very clear when it was discovered that Koch was keeping entire boxes of gold teeth and would sell them to make thousands of dollars, and even enough to take the whole family to Disneyland, California one year. It was these hoarded teeth that prompted an ex-funeral home employee to tell Reuters about her stash. Multiple employees came forward discussing the questionable business practices of the directors, including the fact that Hess would sometimes brag about how lucrative it was to sell bodies and parts, even mentioning to one ex-employee that they had made about $40,000 in 1 month. The two women would infrequently discuss cremation services with family members or individuals who were looking to have those services done. Most of the time, they didn't bring up the request at all. Instead, they forged documents and set to work about dismembering the deceased, selling some parts, and cremating the rest. Some families outright rejected use of any part of the family members' bodies. Others may have given permission to donate cell tissue samples like patches of skin or tumors. Many of those times, their wishes were entirely disregarded. Hess and Koch would still dismember decedents and sell unauthorized parts or entire bodies, often providing ashes to the loved ones that didn't belong to their deceased, but rather complete strangers. Can you imagine the emotional toll? If taking advantage of grief wasn't enough, Hess and Koch would also lie about the corpses that tested positive for infectious diseases like hepatitis B and C or HIV. They would ship these bodies through mail or commercial flights, clearly laughing in the face of regulations for hazardous materials. These crimes are honestly heinous, but because selling bodies or their parts for research and education is not illegal, when it comes to organs and transplant tissues, the government strictly regulates these and they can only be donated. So the ladies both pled guilty to mail fraud and aiding and abetting. Hess received 20 years sentence, the maximum for these convictions, and Koch received a sentence of 15 years. Colorado does not regulate body brokers, and it is the only state that does not license its funeral directors. They had the audacity and unmitigated gall to charge $195 to donate the bodies of the deceased and another $300 charge to have remains returned to the family members. Direct quote from Reuters article: a price quote Hess sent to an Arizona medical training lab in 2016 offered torsos for $1,000 each, a pelvis with upper legs went for $1,200, heads for $500, a knee for $250, and a foot for $125, according to a 2013 donor service price list reviewed by Reuters. 26 family members of the deceased victims came forward to give their heartbreaking statements about how the ladies' choices impacted them. One such woman named Erin Smith stated during her testimonial, "Our sweet mother, they dismembered her. We don't even have a name for a crime this heinous." The family member of a different decedent, Tina Shannon, gave the following statement to the court following the dismemberment of her own mother. "I've worn many masks to cover the pain. I'll never be okay. I cannot even imagine, as deeply as I love my own mother, all four of my parents really, how this situation would cause such a blow to the psyche. Hopefully this case will be the catalyst for much needed change to avoid this situation from occurring in the future. It's not okay to dismember the deceased and make money off their bodies without the permission of any of the people involved in the lives of these same individuals, and honestly, ladies, respectfully, what the actual fuck?" The family of Rex Dunlap, a 78-year-old contractor from Colorado who unfortunately lost his battle with brain cancer in 2016, did not have his final wishes carried out. Dunlap had an agreement with donor services. He would donate parts of his body to reduce the $695 cremation cost by $200. The one exception he made was the glass eye he'd worn since a childhood injury had to be removed and given to his best friend. His friend was then to take that eye and some of his ashes, place them both in an urn, place the urn on top of his father's grave, and bury it over, with a sign that says, "Here's looking at you." I can totally tell this gentleman had a sense of humor, and I love that. His remaining ashes were to be taken and buried with his mother. On the night that Dunlap passed, his niece, Mimi Eberspacher, was at his bedside when Koch came to collect the body. Eberspacher asked Koch to remove the eye right then and there. Koch refused, stating that she would pop it out in the morning and give the niece a call to pick it up. On the next morning, Eberspacher and Dunlap's best friend Ron Mabry went to Sunset Mesa. Koch, who normally dismembered the bodies in the back room of the funeral home, has said that the eye could not be retrieved as they had not prepared his body, instead shipping it to the next facility to have all the work done. And considering the women's history of giving out random cremains, who's to say they were even returned the correct ashes? I would not be the least bit surprised if that was not the case. They were so damn greedy, they couldn't even do the right thing to carry out a man's last wishes. The funeral home did nothing at first to lessen the impact of their acts. It wasn't until Mabry threatened to sue that the company wrote a $500 check as a refund for losing the eye. Yeah, because that $500 is going to do so much to alleviate the kind of heartbreak this poor decision initiated. I wouldn't be surprised at all if during the FBI investigation they managed to find the eye. Either that or they did donate it for a little stipend. This story is disgusting. I'm actually really glad these ladies will not feel the wind of freedom anytime in the next decade. I personally think it should be longer. I hope this incident was enough to start making federal laws that prohibit a conflict of interest like funeral homes and body brokers residing in the same building with the same owners. There should be more critical punishments for such a thing. As if the grieving process isn't hard enough, now you have funeral home directors taking advantage of people in one of their most vulnerable times in life. I send my love and condolences to those impacted by these ladies' greed. Let me know how you would react in the situation in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Have a good day, and I appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video. Take care.